Um, I'm also very happy to be here. So, in fact, I'm here for, I think, from 2 points of view. I'm representing a city, and I will present, let's say, a project that is tried to bring into practice a lot of things that were already talked about. And I think we are proud of this project. It's a unique project because we succeeded to deal with some of the subjects and the problems that were raised. So maybe you can also judge if I'm right. And I'm also happy to present it because I'm now, as a member of the city, I'm following the project, but before I was also involved in design. So in fact, I know a little bit from two parts. What I want to present to you is a park that we in the city consider as a unique project. And in fact, we're very proud of it because it seems to be working very well, and it seems to be one of our most successful projects so far. It is a unique project. And it is like located in the north of Antwerp. It's this big area of 24 hectares, which used to be a former railway yard. For those who know Antwerp a little bit, this is the historical center, so it's really in the north of the city. It's let's say it's a kind of typical place. It's a very densely built. It's one of the most dense neighborhoods in the city. It's a neighborhood full of immigrants. It's a neighborhood with a lot of unemployment rate, and maybe also what is important, there is really only one of the 8 houses or places where people live have an open space, so not even green, have an open space, so it is really a very dense enclosed area. But what is interesting, or was interesting, is that it was also, because it's such a problematic area, it's also a subsidy area. There was federal money available, and there was also European money available. And the advantage of the money is, yeah, we found something to finance our project, but also because the fact that it's subsidies, it's not only that you have to follow maybe some ideas, but there is also strict timing, which can be useful to make a project to move on, which in this case was the case here, in fact. The site itself, as I said, is a blind spot. It was really a fracture in the area. And it has some typical dimensions. It's 24 hectares, but it's in fact very long, and the average width is only 150 meters. So it's 1 kilometer 6 long, and it is only 150 meters wide. Sorry. It was a property of the Belgian Railways. It's polluted, and when they abandoned it finally, of course it became available, and then it was ready to be claimed by everybody. So as a city, we had to deal with it, and also as a designer, with all those claims. So what happened was that the city started to talk with the inhabitants, and they succeeded to find a consensus. And in the consensus, let's say, was that the city, together with the inhabitants, wanted to meet the highest needs of the inhabitants in this part of the city, which was light, air, and an open and green space. In front of the city and the inhabitants that, let's say, succeeded to make a kind of front, there were the Belgian Railways that, maybe a little bit like the harbor here, just wanted to develop the area and make money out of it. So there was a kind of conflictual situation. But finally, the city, after the negotiation and the agreement, let's say, with the people, the city decided to take the lead, which I think is very important, with the resident support. And they succeeded to find an agreement on the area. And the agreement was that the whole area, C, which is 18 hectares, would become a park, and that the areas A and B would become a zone where the city gave the National Railways the right to build or develop 192,000 square meters of office space, mixed buildings, etc., etc. But the city also kept control of that part because they made a kind of master plan of of how this head, which we call the western head, should be developed. And this is you can see some images of it here. After that, because that was also another part of the agreement, the city, together with the railways, organized a competition, and in the competition, it was an international competition, they looked for a park for the 21st century. The competition finally was won by the Italian office Studio Secchi Vigano with a Dutch landscape office which is called Kronwijk. And the title of the project, which I think is very important, was Villages in Metropolis. The subtitle was A Garden for the Neighborhood and a Park for the City and the Metropolitan Area. So, and in fact, Villages in Metropolis, it made a suggestion of the role the park or the design as a strategic project could play, not only on, let's say, the level of the site itself and the interaction with the surroundings, but also on a metropolitan level. For instance, the park, in fact, is playing an important role, connecting a whole chain of parks with, let's say, what is the waterfront of Antwerp. So it's playing also a key role there. So I think it's important. What was useful of this project and what was important was that we also first zoomed out and then zoomed in from the metropolitan level and the city level to the level of the neighborhood, because of course the park also played a very important role on the site itself and in the relationships with the neighborhoods that in fact were lacking green space and open space. The strategy was that the park was designed as a social space, as something free, something open, that allowed the inhabitants to experience the environment, to experience the space, and to become active and to interact with what they were finding there. And in fact, what we did was very simple. We took the two most important characteristics of the site, which are the topography and the dimensions, the width and the length. We kept them, and we just designed a simple lawn, let's say, with trees, and it was crossed by different paths. Something like this. The idea of the paths is very important because the network of paths, which was, let's say, a kind of layer we put on the lawn, was very important because it started to connect all the separated and isolated neighborhoods with each other by using the park as a kind of hinge and transversion zone. And it was very important because that, for the neighbors, that first on the city scale, it revealed the potential of the site on one side, and because people started to talk about it, it also made people of the surrounding neighborhoods proud of their, let's say, of their area again. So it was a very important thing. And then over that, we added a new layer, which we called like multiple atmospheres. We added gardens, sports fields, escape ball, playgrounds, buildings, etc., and all kinds of activities, different programs that were inviting, in fact, different users, and that were like inviting everybody, but really everybody, to interact with the space and to do something. So, in fact, everybody found a way, let's say, to identify with the space. Now I have some pictures of the, let's say, the different atmospheres that maybe can give you a feeling how everybody can find something in the park for himself. So this is the view of the gardens. This is a view of the sports fields. This is the skateball. This is one of the playgrounds. There are the transparent hills with the grass where other people stay. There is a huge, what we call the big water garden, which has become, let's say, the central space in the park, and also, yeah, let's say the pièce de résistance of the park. Because in summer it's more crowded, let's say, than the Belgian coast. It's not nice to go there in summer. We converted also, we integrated existing buildings that got a new function. So in fact, I called it like historical preservation, but it's not true because in the design we integrated, let's say, traces of the past, but we did it in a contemporary frame, and we only kept them when it was useful. So it was not a kind of blind archaeology, but it was really like creating a new identity, a new dynamism, but without really erasing the old. So people kept points of recognition with the area. So we reused the buildings. We reused a lot of the materials on site, so it was also sustainable. And we kept, for instance, bridges, etc.
The cultural mile that we saw.
A little bit, yes. In fact, it's the same. It's also the parts of the existing railway we reused, for instance. But what another important thing is we couldn't arrive at the point where we were without keeping involved, let's say, the people. During the whole process from the beginning, so like in the City Hall process also now, we organized two types of participation, and one was really focused on, let's say, the project. We organized events, debates, etc., that mark, let's say, important moments in the process and important milestones in the planning process and the development of the design. And on the other hand, we also organized events that were linked to the place in a sense that we took the site as a central theme, but we looked also at the surroundings, and we organized a lot of events in the surrounding neighborhoods. And by doing that, let's say the site and the neighborhoods, which were considered really problematic parts of the city, regained another position in all the people's minds, and regained, let's say, a position on the mental map of the city. And then during the process, which is still going on, during the realization, there was what I would call phased appropriation. So from the moment that there was something, that it was possible to open something, we organized something. We organized temporary actions. So, and it's not only something we had to do as a city, but it's also very, let's say, important or very useful for politicians, because they can go on site every time and show how it is going on, and they can also have benefit of that. So because always they want, when there is an opening, of course, politicians want to be there. So as a kind of conclusions, referring also to the title, the creating of identity, how did we do it? I think it are some proposals. So first, it was important that by all the actions, we succeeded to relocate the site on the mental map of the people. Maybe something that could be interesting, I think, to do maybe more intensive also for the City Hall. We tried to design really for everybody, so that it challenged everybody to use the space in his or in her way. So in fact, we just use a grass field to realize that. And then we kept people informed, and then we didn't make them wait too long, so they always saw that something was going on. And I think the result is something we can be very proud of it, because the park, the people really have the feeling that the park it's their park. If you go there in the neighborhood and you ask people, they talk about my park, about our park. So and also from outside the city, people come to the park of Antwerp. So in fact, I think we can conclude that the park really does belong to everybody. What was something we wanted to achieve.
Thank you very much.